kill a human being? Just anyone. Is it morally right that I just shot Alex?
No.
Or if he shot someone, is it morally right for me to kill him? An eye for an eye?
No.
Is that a good reason to kill another person? That is a question we must be asking ourselves when discussing the death penalty. Because when you're for the death penalty, you have to say, it is okay to kill a human being, regardless of counter-arguments. What does this say to us as a people, as a society, that we are pushed to kill people? I'm not saying these people that are convicted of crimes that are horrible are good people. They have every right to be punished. Every right. But is it our judgment to go ahead and kill them? To stoop to the level that they chose for themselves, to go ahead and kill them? I think that the death penalty is something we shouldn't use anymore. It's an old practice that we shouldn't use, and it hasn't deterred anyone from crime. And it's just not humane. It demeans us as a humanity, as a whole. First, let's look at the ways that humanity has executed people. The most ancient use was crucifixion. And of course, if you are a Christian religion, you know exactly what crucifixion is. Putting someone on a cross and leaving them there to die. Obviously, that is completely horrible. But in the US, we used hanging. Now, hanging was supposed to be humane for people that were skinny enough. But if they were perhaps too skinny, they'd be left there dangling for days. They'd be strangulated for days, and they would probably be gasping for breath. And if you were fat enough, it would snap your neck, probably decapitate you. Another way that we have killed people is through gas chamber. And that's through cyanide tablets. They drop them in a chamber, of course. And it poisons the prisoner. But it's not an exact science. And each prisoner is different for each cyanide tablet. And if they didn't die from the first dose, then they would just drop another, while the prisoner is still suffering. Another popular use was electrocution. If we've watched The Green Mile, we've seen how horrible electrocution can be. Your face could melt off, your head could catch on fire. And you know, that says terrible things about humanity. Now let's go with the present day course of lethal injection. Seems pretty, humane. Guy strapped to a gurney, puts to sleep. So let me go through the steps of how a lethal injection is supposed to go. First, of course, you're strapped to a gurney. Then they put 2 needles in your arm just in case one gets clogged. Then you get 5,000 milligrams of sodium thiopental. This is an anesthetic, supposed to make you go to sleep for about 30 seconds. Then you get pancurium bromide, and that just paralyzes you and your lungs. And then you get potassium chloride to induce cardiac arrest. Around 2 minutes, you are declared dead. Sounds kind of peaceful, right? But in the medical journal of The Lancet, they hooked up 49 cadavers that were actually killed in death penalty states like South Carolina, North Carolina, Arizona. And 43 had lower sleep medication than what is required for surgery for people, just regular people. And they would be awake and aware. And they would suffocate to death, but they wouldn't show any of it because they'd be paralyzed. And it would fail to meet the standards to putting down animals. What the heck are we doing to people? I know that most of these people might seem evil to you. And they probably are. They probably are evil. They probably shot 5 children for fun. They probably raped a few women, just 'cause. But here's another thing. What if they were actually innocent? According to the database for the death penalty, 121 people that are on death row were declared innocent. That means that we could have killed an innocent human being. We would have murdered them. And what's the penalty for murder in a state like Texas? The death penalty. So we are all murderers. It's a paradox. It's terrible. Another thing we have to consider is deterrent. And the deterrent factor is it doesn't work at all. In death penalty states in 1999, 5.5 was the murder rate per 100,000 people. But in non-death penalty states, it was 3.6. Now, you might seem, oh, that's just 1 year. But a few years later, it was 5.1 in death penalty states for per 100,000 people, and 2.9 in non-death penalty states. The death penalty does not work. It's not a deterrent, and it dehumanizes us. And might I add, the 8th Amendment says we should not use cruel and unusual punishment. This is a punishment we shouldn't use anymore. Keep them locked up forever. These terrible people. And if it can cost too much money, feed them cheaper food. All in all, it's something we shouldn't use. Thank you.
I did a speech physician assistant suicide. I always, when I was doing my research, I ran across, the subject that you're talking about. I always wondered why it was so inhumane the way they put, like you said, they put down animals better than they do people on that row. And physician assistant suicide, people calmly go into a coma, basically. They go to sleep and they immediately just stop the heart. I don't understand why they don't do the same for prisoners.
Because, like, in some states, it's not regulated very well, and they don't get good physicians to perform it. The lethal injection was not made to make prisoners feel comfortable. It was more for the executioner, so they wouldn't feel guilty. Like with firing squad, you're shooting the bullet. Electrocution, you see them suffering and, jittering around and, the horrible effects that I've said. That's why. And it's poorly regulated who executes the
I don't think
it's normal.
I'm going to my criminal justice. Now, even though you said that, I just want to bring up something. In Furman v. Georgia, back in 1972, a man killed, I think it says like about 61 women who were put on death row. They found that it was unconstitutional to execute someone, or not execute, kill someone in jail. So he got put life in prison. He later got parole, got out of jail, killed 5 more women, got put back in jail, and then in Gregg v. Georgia, they established that it was legal to kill people again, and then he got executed.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, I know where you're going from, because the death penalty was declared unconstitutional in the Supreme Court, and then it was reinstated by 72. That is one case that the criminal justice system should have been more wary about. They should have not given him a chance to get parole. Some people that are way too dangerous should not have a chance at parole and just get life imprisonment, in my opinion. There are more that are thinking, well, if they're just dangerous enough, just kill them. To me, it doesn't seem logical. There's no good way of killing someone. There's always going to be someone that's harmed. And, yeah. Thank you.
First off, good persuasive speech.
Thank you.
But I'm led to wonder, you said that the sleeping sedative that we give a lot of people killed by lethal injection is not high enough. What would be your argument against just upping the dosage rather than doing away with it?
Well, it's not that it isn't high enough. They're not giving their correct amount. They aren't using all the, 5,000 milligrams. They're just putting in like probably a 2,000, and it wouldn't keep them asleep. It would keep them awake. So that was the problem. And upping the dosage, they have more of the exact science. I'm not the person that does the exact dosage because I'm not sure if a wrong amount of dosage would be harmful to a person.
In Europe, most of the countries except Bulgaria have banned the death penalty. But in 2008, Group Wilders was a former Finland soldier. He killed 47 teenagers. And he was arrested. And they first, well, they wanted to rule him insane, but he found that he was mentally stable. and they give them 30 years. Do you agree with that punishment?
30 years? Well, let's see. Do they get reevaluated by 30 years? Like, or do they just let them free?
They're going to just probably let them free. Because
Well, how old is he
he's
actually?
30.
30 years
He'll be
old.
60 soon.
He'll be 60. Well, usually more law enforcement, like Australia does this too. They do a certain amount of years instead of like life sentences sometimes, depending on person to person, how cruel was the action that they did. By 60 years old, most people think that you wouldn't be able to kill anyone. But, you know, there are healthy 60-year-olds. So I'm pretty sure like law enforcement would take a great deal of care of monitoring this certain subject while he's in jail and probably when he exits. That's Alex.
Oh my God.
What? I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if someone were to go into the streets and start shooting people,
Mm-hmm.
and then that person, after killing, say, 10, 15 people, just gives up
Yeah.
and wants to be arrested,
Mm-hmm.
should you arrest him and then have him sit in jail for the rest of his life, or just go ahead and shoot him and get it over with?
Let's see. Did he surrender with his hands up and not a gun in his hand, like, arrest me? Because that's more of a challenge. Because if you're doing it like
Just
this,
peacefully?
you should arrest him, give him a fair trial, like every person that is allowed to in this United States. Bill of Rights tells us we should all have a fair trial. And of course, usually with that kind of instance, there's more witnesses, more evidence. He's probably going to be pronounced guilty, and depending on state to state, because states are the ones that mandate whether or not they'll have death penalties. If he was in this state, pretty sure he'll be charged with capital murder and used with capital punishment. I don't agree with it because it's not a proper use of getting rid of someone. It's just it's just going against moral standings. You shouldn't kill someone who isn't an immediate threat to people.
We'll take Natasha and then we'll go. Oh, were you up first? Okay.
I see some of the points you're bringing up and whatnot, and they're very valid points, but you're looking at people who made other people suffer. These people, in my opinion, don't deserve to just sit and live life. I mean, I know I get the shell and they do suffer there, but I feel like they just deserve to suffer to an extent.
Well,
So why should they just get to sit and?
I don't believe we should stoop to the level of killers. Why should we punish someone by killing someone? That's
Yeah, but-
kind of wrong to me.
But
Because it's a moral argument, and most people would say, if it was easy, like, say if your family member got killed, it would be easy for you to say, I want him to have the death penalty.
yeah.
But in a case of, does anyone know about Matthew Shepard? Matthew Shepard? Laramie Project,
Yeah.
if you've heard
Yeah.
about it. Matthew Shepard was beaten and left to die in Wyoming because he was gay, and it was a hate crime. And during the trial, his father had stated, like, I don't want you to die, because that's easy. Easy. Dying is easy, living is hard. And you have to live with the fact that you've done this. So I don't believe that just because you did a horrible crime means you get to die. That's an easy outcome. You die.
That's also an easy outcome to sit in jail for the rest of your life because you're still living, they have access to TV, they have access to recreation. things
Not
like
every
that.
single one.
Yeah,
do you know
but
about
most of them do.
Do you know about
The
death
majority of
row? Like the parts of when they're.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but what I'm saying is there's certain situations where as long as you're not murdering somebody, there's justifications in ending someone's life if it's self-defense or whatnot, but
Are they an immediate threat? Like
But
an immediate.
it's not about immediate threat, it's about somebody suffering.
Guys, we're gonna wrap that one up to go to the last three. We'll take Natasha, Miguel, and then Lillian. No, Natasha asked your question?
That's how
Shea, we're gonna take the last three questions.
Okay, I understand that it's supposed to be psychological conviction of them to sit in
Lillian, can you open
jail
the door for two?
about what they've done. But why is it that the innocent person that died, why is their family allowed to suffer? And why is the person allowed to still live, even though he took someone else's life?
He's not really living. He's what I call surviving. But it's not like they didn't get a punishment. It'd be something if they didn't. Like, say he got off scot-free. then he'd really be living life. Probably repeating murders. If he's in prison, he can't hurt another person again. He's not allowed to. And if the crime is severe enough, he shouldn't get parole. Like, he killed 5 kids. Like, mentally stably just killed 5 kids because it was fun.
So do you
He,
think that there should be harsher punishments in jail?
yes, but not death penalty. It's kind of a silly thing now. It's kind of ancient. It's kind of not even ethical. It's tried to be ethical, but lethal injection it hasn't been working
So-
for some people. And
So
also,
Shay, we're gonna end that one up and let you take the last. Come on, Miguel, you had your hand up, you even put it up twice.
She should have helped, because
Oh,
I
okay.
the entire time.
no,
Yeah, what?
I get a lot of opponents
Okay.
against me.
And Lillian, we'll take
I
Lillian.
just have 2 short points. I've written many papers on this topic. And the first thing I want to say is when we say justice, it's completely and totally contradicting itself. Because we're killing someone for killing someone. So what are we doing? That we're not really.
Some people are the ones.
Yeah, we're not really justifying anything. It completely breaks that off. And you're killing to kill, you know? And another thing is, when you look into it and you start looking up testimonials, more than half of the families that have convicted the person and sent them to